All right, welcome everybody. Welcome to anybody watching the playback. My name's Bruce Rodriguez. Today, I will be kind of doing something totally different, a little different than I usually do. A lot of the videos that I react to are people who I have maybe a little bit of respect for or kind of neutral with. Most of them I have zero respect for. They just make the worst videos ever. In today's video, I'll just be reacting, kind of responding to a video from Jason Chrisman, as you can see in the title, who is somebody who I definitely have a good bit of respect for. I've been subscribed to his channel, oh my goodness, I don't know, 4 or 5 years, probably at least. And just an overall good channel. Always has really informational, instructional, good videos, And I'm not just blowing smoke. I just want to get out of the way so people don't think I'm just going after some random person on YouTube. It's somebody that I watched for years, Back when I first subscribed to his channel, a lot of these YouTube beekeepers, they didn't even have bees yet. So there's that. What was I gonna say? This one video that he did was just kind of out in left field. Definitely wasn't something I was used to seeing, and the comments on the video were definitely reflecting that. The one good thing about Jason and JC's Bees is he's kind of one of the only good beekeepers left that hasn't jumped on this kind of streaming collaboration bandwagon, a bunch of coattail riding. So that's one good thing. That's one reason that I respect Jason Chrisman also. Today's video, well, the reaction today, is from a video that was, I think it was yesterday or the day before, talking about the term hobbyist and why it's not good for beekeeping. And I watched it a couple times. It really just had a different tone, kind of a not normal Jason tone. And to kind of not spoil everything, but I do kind of agree that the word hobby maybe isn't the best word for beekeeping. I have hobbies, collecting various things, collecting coins or baseball cards or some things that I used to, they were my hobby. Maybe your hobby might be wood turning or something, pottery. Those kind of things, you can do them and then you can stop for a while. You can take breaks. With bees, they do need more attention. Do they actually really ever need us in all circumstances? Of course not. They don't. So I'll probably play a few clips of the video. I want to try to play the least amount of the video as possible, even though I'm not worried about a copyright or anything like that. This would definitely fall under fair use. So I always get comments about that. Why are you using someone else's content? I'm reacting to it. I'm giving commentary on it. So I'm not stealing somebody's content and posting it as my own. I even left a comment on the video saying that I disagreed with it. It's just, to me, it was semantics, really. And kind of the tone, whenever I picture someone telling people, you need to do this and you need to do that, I always picture that drill sergeant that I use for the thumbnail, even though that's not what I think Jason's doing here. I just think he kind of woke up on the grumpy side of the bed. He woke up and chose violence and just decided, I'm going to just give it to some of these people. So let's play a little clip. A lot of the stuff I was thinking of saying, I just totally forgot about. But I'll think of it as we play it. Let me share the screen here. All right, I'll make the video a little bit bigger. All right. I'm going to be stopping it a lot just because, I don't know, sometimes one individual sentence might hold quite a bit of weight that I'll talk about. And I'm happy to hear any of your comments. If there's any trolls or anything like that, or just unrelated stuff, I'll deal with that at the end. or maybe some other time. I'm going to just play a little bit. Here's the beginning.
Now, one of these terms I mentioned a beekeeper can fall into is hobbyist. And in that category, it basically means you're not making any side income off of your bees. You just enjoy having them for pollination, or maybe you just enjoy having them around. For whatever reason, you fall under hobbyist beekeeper. Now, I have a problem with that.
Okay, so just getting started. So before this part of the video, he said you can fall into 3 categories: commercial, sideliner, or a hobbyist. And then here, this part, he says that hobbyist means that you don't make any side income off of it. I would disagree with that. I would say that there is a very large number of beekeepers, including probably Jason himself and myself, who would fall into the hobbyist category. We'll just keep saying hobbyist for now. Jason's definitely not a commercial beekeeper. I don't think a sideliner from what I can see. And I still consider myself a hobbyist. So do a lot of people that make money off their bees. They just still consider themselves a hobbyist. But let's just say, for the sake of argument, he's talking about someone with 2 colonies in their backyard, or 2 or 3, or 1. Even if you look at people with that few of colonies, of course they're a hobbyist. They're definitely not a sideliner or a commercial beekeeper. A very large percentage of them still can bottle some honey, can make a split and sell it here and there. They still make some money. So I have a problem kind of right away with that definition. Is it a hobby like coin collecting where you can just stop? I mean, that's up to the person, really. Bees very often do fine on their own, but we'll get to that a little bit later. So, and then he talks about how maybe they just like them in their backyard. They just like having them around. So in other words, they're enjoying themselves. They're enjoying bees being around. Jason has a problem with that. So let's see what it is. I don't know. This is just a weird tone during this whole video.
And here's why. If you treat beekeeping like a hobby, then your bees are most likely going to die.
Okay, so that is demonstrably false by thousands and thousands of people who keep their bees as hobbyists. And you'll see it in the comment section on his original video, which I encourage you to go watch. There's plenty of people in there telling them, hey, some of them are even unsubscribing. They were just like, this pissed them off that bad. I mean, it didn't piss me off that bad that I would unsubscribe. I still like Jason's videos. But they're giving it to him. So he's having to do a lot of backpedaling. Or kind of, maybe you missed the point, which is always one way of coming back at people. But yeah, he's kind of getting it in the comment section. There are the people who, in comment sections, that, they really want to hug up to whoever the creator is. They're never going to tell them they did any wrong. They probably want them to come on his live or their live. They really like that kind of clout chasing. A big YouTuber like Jason Chrisman. So they're never going to have any quarrels with him or any qualms with what he's saying. I don't have that much to lose, so and even if I did, it wouldn't matter. I would still say my opinion. And let's keep that in mind too. This is Jason's opinion. He's allowed to put whatever he wants on. And we can respect anybody's opinion. And I'm glad that he said, he'll be looking forward to my reaction. Hopefully it just stays nice. Let's play a little more. I don't remember the whole video.
You see, with a hobby, say for me, for instance, I started playing guitar when I was, 13, 14 years old, many, many moons ago. And I've picked it down and I've put it up many a times. There's sometimes I don't play it for a whole year. There's sometimes I'll pick it up and strum on it a couple times a week. But, it just varies depending on what's going on in my life.
All right, so here he's just kind of reiterating what I was saying. There's a difference between a hobby that you can just Stop Cold and Beekeeping, which is more of a pastime, like he'll say later. I don't want to forget that bees can, believe it or not, can be left alone very often. Any removal specialists on YouTube can attest to that. I can attest to it. I have colonies in a log and in boxes that have never been touched for years, and they're still alive. So just that comes along a little bit later in the video, but I don't want to play too much. Let me see if I can skip some of this guitar talk here.
Treat them like it's a hobby. Let me tell you, bees can't take that kind of neglect.
Oh, okay. So now I remembered what I was going to say. It seems that today, this video, or the day that he made this video, he wanted to question the term hobby, but I think what his real problem with was with beekeepers that don't keep bees the way he does, plain and simple. So treatment-free beekeepers, number one. That's always the first one. I just did a video like this a couple weeks ago with about the Bohemia bees statement at the end of that video. And this is very similar, only it's a little longer. So Jason has a problem with the word hobbyist, but I think what he really has a problem with is people who don't treat their bees. So me, and then people who maybe just don't focus on them as much as he does, or as much as he would assume that sideliners and commercial beekeepers do. And that's what I always say over here. People, just stay in your own lane. Hobbyists don't need sideliners telling them how to be. They don't need commercial beekeepers telling them what to do. Hobbyists should shut up about telling commercial beekeepers how to keep their bees. Just everybody knows what they want to do with their own bees, what they enjoy. This kind of scolding tone in this video, we'll go through it a little more, but it's kind of a put off.
They can't be shut off to the side or hung up on the wall and forgot about for a couple weeks or months or a year, like the guitar for me. So if you're thinking about getting into beekeeping, or maybe you're already into beekeeping, maybe don't think of it as a hobby. I think the hobbyist term really is probably a bad term to be used in beekeeping.
All right, so I've thought about this a little bit. Well, to his first point, yes, bees can be left alone. They can be left alone, and they can survive for months and for weeks and for years. They can sometimes. I'm not saying they always can, especially if you're buying bees from just commercial apiaries. Of course, they're probably going to die. But the thing is, you got to let people do what they want to do. This kind of tone really doesn't help anybody. Changing the word hobbyist to whatever imaginary magic word somebody wants to use, maybe use backyard beekeeper, maybe use journeyman, I guess, as someone suggested in the comments. It doesn't matter if you change the term. The person would still have the issue with people who don't keep bees the way they do. Okay. So let's play a little more. There's a couple. Let me see. Yeah, I don't.
Because in today's beekeeping world, you can't just have a bee colony in the corner of your yard and expect it to survive year to year.
In fact, I do have a bee colony in the corner of my yard that has survived for 3 years. It's never been touched. Anybody who follows my channel knows about it. I show it all the time. It's never been touched. I also had bees in a spool for 5 straight years. During those 5 straight years that they survived, I must have got 40 swarms out of them that I put in the boxes and kept like a normal beekeeper, So that's demonstrably wrong. Treaters tend to focus on the deaths of bees. They never focus on the positives of people who don't treat their bees, because what good would that do? So we have, let me just I really don't want to go off on the commenters in here, so I'm going to let them slide for now. Let's play this a little bit more.
Without management, it's just not going to happen.
No, it definitely happens. It happens for me. What he says is not going to happen is you can't have bees that you don't, intensively manage and they're going to survive. They do. They have many, many times for many people. It's not guaranteed, of course, but you can't speak in absolutes. I would have been totally cool if him or anybody would have just said, there's a good chance that if you don't monitor your bees, they could die. Like that, there's nothing wrong with that. To just say to everyone as a blanket statement, if you put bees here, they're going to die every time. It's not true. Let me see something. Yep. All right, let me play a little more. I'll bring other people into the comments after I'm done here. There's only a few minutes to watch.
Personally, I think that term needs to be changed. I don't know what the right word would be, but hobbyist, not a good idea. Don't make beekeeping a hobby. Make it a passion. Think of your bees as what they are. Honeybees are considered livestock. You couldn't buy a cow, a horse, or chickens and feed them this week and then next week not feel like feeding them or seeing if they need your attention in any kind of manner. So they need management. And it's the same with beekeeping.
Well, I've already addressed this many, many times. It's more semantics, really. If I keep bees, it doesn't matter if you or me or anybody calls them livestock. It doesn't matter if you call them a pet or a wild animal. You can have many things that can be. I have chickens. I have dogs. There's some things that can be livestock that can also be your pets. Some people have chickens that don't ever lay eggs. They just feed them because they're old. That doesn't. How are they livestock? They're never going to eat them. They're never going to get anything out of them. They're still their pets. They can still have things. It doesn't really matter what you call them. I don't know why that's always like the gotcha with so many beekeepers. It's always treating beekeepers too. They always say, because of this, I can use this term livestock to kind of force you and strong arm you into thinking that you need to treat your bees the way I do so that you do it my way. And then we're all happy, even though we're thousands of miles apart. It's a weird thing that beekeepers do. All right, play a little bit more. I'm trying not to. I may sound like I'm getting serious, but I still like Jason's channel. I'm still going to stay subscribed. I don't care. People get mad, whatever.
So for that reason, I wouldn't consider beekeeping what is considered now as a hobby. If you look at it as a hobby, you're setting your bees up for failure.
I mean, just again, not to keep beating the dead horse, but just because you have fewer colonies, you're not a sideliner or a commercial beekeeper. You just enjoy yourself. That's the problem here. That doesn't mean that you're never succeeding. In my opinion, if you're enjoying yourself, you're already successful, really. If you're lazy and just want to buy bees every year, you don't put any effort into catching bees, into learning about the bees before you get them. That's a whole different, separate situation. I feel the same way. People who get bees don't know anything about them whatsoever. Don't even know what they're going to do. I think Jason talks about that in his comments. He's kind of taken all the really terrible newbie beekeepers and kind of lumping them in with people who either don't treat or maybe just have some trouble in their first couple of years, like he did.
So that's my 2 cents on the term hobbyist and hobby being used in beekeeping. It can't be that way today. It has to be more than a hobby. It has to be maybe a pastime, not a hobby. Hobby is a bad term to be used.
So, I mean, anytime someone tells me it has to be this, it has to be that, this is bad. I start to feel like I'm at kind of a sermon, and I lose interest really quickly. But this is definitely not normal JC's Bees content. Let me skip to the part here. I have the timestamp. 6:15. In the middle of the video, he's kind of like just playing with the dog and talking about different other things. Let's see. I don't know if there's much left at the end here. Let's see. Right about here.
So what is the takeaway here? Well, the way I see it, there's one of two ways to take this video, and that all depends on your stance currently in beekeeping. If you haven't started beekeeping yet and you're thinking about it, think about it as I just proposed, not as a hobby, as something that needs to be managed, such as livestock. Don't think you're going to stick a hive in the corner of the yard and for many, many years it's going to prosper and grow. Because
okay, now think about that for a second. Think about that. Think about the what they call the goalpost being moved. Okay, Jason didn't move the goalpost there. He put the goalpost in the back of his truck and drove it across the country and then stuck it up somewhere else. What he's implying is that somebody out there, me, I guess, thinks that you can take some bees, put them in the corner yard and leave them alone, not just for some time, but for many, many, many years, and they're just going to be there. He's basically fighting, arguing against somebody that doesn't exist. Nobody thinks that under the best conditions, bees are just going to exist in this hive for many, many, many years and not eventually die. So it's just not a good take. Let's see.
Because that's not the case. And the reason for that is we have many pests now in beekeeping. And one of the biggest ones is Varroa mites.
Oh man, why is that so small? Let me see if I can make this big. Got to get it to full screen. I don't know why it's so small. So I already made a video about this a little while back where I was talking about Hilberto something BTV, whatever that channel was. Whenever they say Varroa mites, that's never enough. They always have to say Varroa destructor because it's scary, and it's a scary thing to especially new beekeepers. And Jason kind of throws that in here real quick. We'll let it play. Fortunately, you can't see it on the screen because I somehow made the video smaller and I can't make it bigger. Oh, there it is. Let's play it.
Varroa destructor, actually, if you wanted to research them. And they're a pest that infest our bees, and they make them sick and weak, especially during the dormant season when there's not a whole lot going on in the hive. So these mites need...
So, not to be Captain Obvious, but is there anybody who's never heard of Varroa mites? Is there anyone in the world that hasn't heard about them by now? I don't know why we still bring it up like it's some novel information to someone. Maybe if it's to someone who just stumbled across this video and doesn't have bees, never wanted bees, just somehow stuck around till, I don't know, 8 minutes into this video. Anybody watching most of these bee channels knows what Varroa means. They've heard of the Varroa destructor, the big scary Skeletor. They've heard about it. There's no, but it's anybody's channel. You can say what you want, but we know everybody.
Need to be managed, and for that reason, it's not a hobby. If you are currently a beekeeper, the way to think about this is to treat your bees like livestock, like I just mentioned. Don't think of it as a hobby. Treat them as livestock. If you can go out there and manage your bees just like you would cattle or sheep, chickens, whatever it may be, a living thing, living organisms. If you can do that, then you're on the right track with your beekeeping journey.
Okay, so here's something a lot of people forget. So what he really means, he should just stop the sentence. Instead of saying treat your bees like livestock, he really just wants to say treat your bees. Treat your bees. I have never treated bees in 13 years. I'm never going to treat bees. I've never been short of bees. I'm always swimming in bees. I got too many all the time. I have too many now. I have too many survivors. So basically, my answer is no. No. You do what you want to do, and I'm going to do what I want to do. And this kind of ordering and kind of scolding people how you have to do it thousands of miles away. You should be more like Bob Binney. Bob Binney loves to sell bees to treatment-free beekeepers because they die every year, supposedly, and then he sells them again. He loves the return customers. That's how a lot of treating bee sellers are. They have no problem saying it. And also, something Jason doesn't mention, no one ever does, is that a lot of people who treat their bees still lose bees. A lot of them lose more than I do, and they lose more than treatment-free beekeepers who know what they're doing, who select for survivor stock and who have survivor stock. They never, ever talk about bees that are treated that die. And trust me, they do. They die a lot. It's a high. Just look at the Bee Informed Partnership statistics. I think there's only a tiny bit left, and then I'll address some of these comments.
My first few years, I struggled with keeping up with all the demand that my bees needed. And for that reason, I didn't do very good. It wasn't until my third year, actually going into my fourth year, that I successfully overwintered bees. And that was just because I treated it like a hobby.
I don't know. I mean, I've never considered myself more than a hobbyist, and I've had bees overwinter my first, second, third, all the way up until every single year that I've had bees, had a nice chunk of them overwinter every time with zero treatments ever. Always a hobby. So just go over to the video, check out the comment section. Just see, there's other people who have a much better way of explaining their problems with this video than I do. I kind of scatterbrain and stumble around about what I want to talk about, but there's some very good comments over there. And I should have kind of, maybe I'll look through them here after we're done. I'm going to check all these comments over here on the right. Don't worry. I'm going to get to them.
And not like livestock. So if you can get that drilled into your mind, I think you're on the right path, folks. Now, I do think seriously that there needs to be a term change in beekeeping, and that is the hobbyist set of mind. You can't be a hobbyist in beekeeping and be successful. So I think we need to get that term out of there and change it with something else. I don't know who we contact about that.
Okay, so we'll just respond to that. He says, drill it into your mind. I don't like, it reminds me of the drill instructor. They're the ones who have to drill things into your mind. I don't like the idea of experienced beekeepers trying to drill anything into anybody. Who do you want to contact to change the term hobbyist? Contact me. I said no. It doesn't matter what you change it to. Change it to whatever you want to. You're still going to have a problem with people who don't keep bees the way you do, and people who are just going through the same kind of beekeeping you did in your first 3 to 4 years, who maybe aren't doing that great. But there's so much information out there. That's one of the big problems. There's too many imposters on here, too many terrible bee channels teaching terrible advice, and they're following most of them. They should follow Jason Chrisman, most of his advice. Now for me, I like all his videos except for the treating ones. I don't really care because I don't treat bees, but over the years it's definitely been a good channel to watch. Just want to keep letting you guys know that this is not a takedown video of Jason.
I don't know. I'm not even sure who to contact about that, but I do think there needs to be a change. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on the term hobbyist in beekeeping, and you can leave them down in the comments section.
All right, so that's pretty much everything. I did leave it down there in the comments section, just like a lot of people that shit. I just forgot to pull up some of the comments, but you guys can go over there and read the comments yourselves. You'll see which ones I'm talking about. Now, let's see. I only spent 30 minutes doing that. Great. I'll check some of these. I'm gonna take a deep breath and go into some of these comments because I got a minor in here and I don't want to come off too much like an old time shitty beekeeper. Okay. Thing you have to do if your kid gets sick, what are you gonna do? It's not the same. Bees aren't the same. That's just all I'm gonna say. Somebody said something pretty rude in here. I don't agree with that comment right there. So here's this. If you don't tend your bees, you'll be a bee haver. Well, I don't know. I'm a bee haver. I got a lot of bees. Had bees for a long time. Be careful being so new in it and being so young and just saying these things because I don't know. Just be careful. Rodney was saying that some packages don't fare well until they requeen and get local genetics. I mean, I don't know about that, but it sounds feasible. I mean, anything is an improvement from the original packaged queen genetics that you get. So open mating, if you're in an area with some feral bees, actual survivor stock, if you're in my area, anything's an improvement. If you don't tend your bees, yeah, see, so there it is. The whole problem with the video that Jason made, as I said, I think maybe hobbyist isn't the best word. I don't know. It just doesn't fit. Like, I have a hobby of collecting coins and I collect, I don't know, seashells. So beekeeping is, I don't really have a problem with it. There's probably just better terms. The big problem with the video is, I think in Jason's mind was, you don't keep bees the way I do. You're not going to be successful if you do it these treatment-free ways. He just kind of said it without saying it. It's just kind of like the scolding that anybody gets in their first beekeeping class. Honeybee Workshop says, hobby, an activity done regularly in one's leisure time for pleasure. So yeah, if you only have a couple colonies, you can do it in your leisure time. That's the great thing about bees. They're not like cattle. They're not like chickens. I have to feed my chickens, and if I had cattle, I have to feed them every day. Bees are not like that. Bees can go get their own food. They can get their own water. I'm down here dragging water to my chickens in 20 degrees, busting ice cubes out of giant water bowls, filling them up 2-3 times a day in the winter. We don't do that for bees. Bees are very independent. Okay, they don't need as much attention as all these other animals. So no, it doesn't make sense in that video for Jason Chrisman to compare bees to cattle or sheep. There's nothing, or your kid, as some of these commenters say. Researcher Amateur says everybody wants to feed their bees like chickens, but that's not the way. You can't not feed chickens all winter. Oh, see, okay, so you kind of just said what I said before I saw your comment there. The bees are kind of the best thing if you want an animal that doesn't need you constantly in there. Yeah, you won't know if they have a queen issue or something, or if, there's certain things you can only find by opening them up. No shit, everybody knows that. But what's the worst case scenario if you have 1 or 2 colonies? The worst possible case scenario is that those 2 colonies aren't alive. That's the worst. Like, the whole world doesn't end. You're not out thousands and thousands of dollars from 1 or 2 colonies. Sometimes you'll still have a bunch of honey left. You'll still have swarm bait, combs to use for swarm catching. The world doesn't end because 1 or 2 backyard bee colonies die, especially in your first 3 or 4 years, like Jason's experience. The world didn't end for him. He kept sticking to it just like anybody can, and now has, a good little bunch of hives. Okay, Wildwoods. I don't think bees will survive years without management. Well, you're wrong, okay? I inspect my colonies every 2 weeks and ensure the queens. Okay, no. That's fine, but the first sentence, you're wrong, okay? Demonstrably wrong. The Romite can take 3 months away from the winter. yeah, I mean, everything you're saying is kind of, I don't want to keep picking on this kid. I mean, I like the kid, but it's mostly kind of just regurgitating a little bit of book stuff. I get it. I don't think you did the test to see how long you didn't mark bees and see how long they live during the winter, during the summer. These are just common things that people say. I know all these things. I mean, I've heard all these things, so I know that I marked a whole ton of bees. I marked like 500-600 bees one time from my spool colony because I couldn't inspect it. And I had bees with marks on them. Must have been 6 months later. They can live very, very long sometimes, not all of them. But so I think that the lifespan is not just a set in stone thing. They live this long during this time of the year, they live this long this time of the year. It's just not true. Yeah, Honeybee Workshop, their kids are livestock. I get, that's one way of looking at it. If you treated your kids like a hobby, what would happen? Yeah, I don't know. I think the whole video is just strange. Bees are like cats. All right, so I don't know what to wrap it up with. I don't have to make a 2-hour long video about a little video. This isn't hate towards Jason. I think he just woke up on the grumpy side of the bed. I'm not trying to woo him onto my live stream and try to get his subscribers to come over here. So I'm not going to put the link there in his comment section. I think it's cheesy to promote yourself on other people's channels. It's up to them if they want to promote somebody. I'm not going to, What the cool thing about Jason is I know from watching other people that they've invited him on a bunch of things and he just said, no, you do your thing over there. I'm going to do my thing over here. Don't try to steal my thunder. So that I can respect. But if there's not anything else to talk about, that was my kind of reaction to that video. And I'll just follow another comment here. Yeah, I mean, I would agree with that. Management is something I kind of learned. I made so many mistakes. I realized I was just screwing up so bad for a long time. And now I can't say that I have it down 100%, but I definitely have it down better than I ever did before. I had it down really well last year, and my survival showed that. And this year, I might even have it down a little bit better. And as Rodney's saying here, it's your personal preference. I mean, you're going to hear treaters talk about how somebody mite bombs their bees and this and that. It gets so old. All those claims are debunked. They can't prove them. It just sounds good. It sounds scary. It kind of scares you into buying the vaporizers and all the treatments that they're selling. So you got to keep people scared to get them to do what you want them to do. Honeybee Farms throwing a shot at me. Okay, so he's a keeper, not a haver. God bless y'all. All right. So that's going to be it for this. If you like this video, hit a thumbs up. That's the first time I ever asked for that, but man, I never get that many thumbs. All right, take care, everybody. Have a good one.